All right, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I believe we are live on Facebook. Welcome back to another amazing Tuesday. Welcome back to Caribbean Diaspora Vibes. My name is Donna Morton, president of Caribbean American Diaspora, president of Women of Culture, real estate broker, and mindset coach. We well, you know what? We are not going to wait for Louis Witter of Caribbean Rhythms Radio Network. He's in stuck in route and he's got some weather that he's dealing with. So we're not going to delay for the show tonight. So tonight's topic, I just want to say big ups to last month, June, because really last month was all about the men. Every week we had a different topic about men's health, wellness, their peace of mind, why them need man cave. Just they're also they're also looking for peace, right? And things that we as women can do to assist them. And I think at the end we realize that they also need to do more empowerment. Like we are always empowering and releasing negative energy. And that's something that they need to, for a balance life. So we were thankful for that. So jumping right into Jamaica Diaspora talk, but let's go ahead and introduce and welcome Dr. Arlene Adams.
Thank you, Nana.
How are you doing this week?
I'm doing fabulous. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here and to see Empress Zaria with us.
We love calling her name. I
Nice.
know. Empress, there are times where my husband will text me and be like, Impress. It's such a name that it just does something to you, right? It builds you up a little bit more when you call yourself, and that's important to for us to know names matter, what we call ourselves, how we refer to ourselves matter. So big ups to Empress Zaria. That's going to give us a little update, in Jamaica, all the amazing work that she's been doing, countless. I know every once in a while she getting a little beach time and all of that, but we see that she's glowing with love and light.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we want to welcome her this evening, and we're going to just get an update from her, what's going on in her world. Blessings.
Yes, I. Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be among you again. It's been a while since I've been
Hmm.
on the show. Um, it's been, and it's sort of good too, because I've had an opportunity to just be in observation mode and just be. Um, and so I'm able to now share from a perspective from which I'm able to be here and looking back now and forward based on a lot of things that's unfolding in our worlds.
Hmm.
A lot is going on. Thank you for having me again this evening, and thank you for the last minute schedule. I sent this to you, but there are some pressing matters that are touching the lives of many of our people that have some urgent and immediate needs that I want to bring forward for our community to be aware of. Just
Right.
a little bit. I am Empress Zaria, also known as my government name is Karen Francis.
Hmm.
And I'm a returning resident to Jamaica. I have been coming back and forth here for about 3 years before staying here for, I would say, maybe 16 consecutive months now. So I've been here nonstop, haven't flown back to the States I don't know if I should say that publicly, knowing now what's going on with the birthright situation. They might not let me back in. But I have been living in both worlds, both the United States and Jamaica. And having returned to Jamaica now and resettling, I am learning a lot about our culture that I was not aware of before. When I left Jamaica, I was 13. And and we lived in New York, and I served in the military. So I felt like an American. I've been living like an American. And it wasn't until returning to Jamaica that I realized that I knew very little about our culture, particularly as it pertains to where we come from, or in the indigenous part of our culture. And so during the past 16 months or so, a little over a year and a half that I have been here, I have been sitting at the feet of elders in the indigenous communities in Nanny Town. I have spent time with Chief Sterling there, just learning about the culture and the community. Nanny Town, what happened, how did that all come about? And it's interesting to get the perspective from the people and not the books. And this will play a role in some of what I'm going to be sharing later, particularly as it pertains to education. So I spent time with Chief Sterling in Nanny Town. They call it Morton, I call it Nanny Town, to honor Nanny. And I have been to a compound town and been a part of their annual festival as well, to learn about the history of the Maroons in that region. And most recently, I have been at the feet of Priest Kelly, who is the priest of the Haile Selassie Rastafari Royal Ethiopian Judah Coptic Church, which is the church in Jamaica that represents the Rastafari community. And from him, I have been learning about where Rastafari, how it all plays into the history of our culture, the role that His Imperial Majesty plays in all of that, its root in Ethiopia, how that connects back to the Apocrypha, the Bible, right, the Catholic Church, and all that. And the pieces of the puzzle are starting to come together for me. And the reason that I contacted you, Donna, was because the whole birthright citizenship situation right now has really opened up. It's a Pandora's box for some, but for us as a people, it's really showing and telling about our roots in this region of the world. One that we believe originated from slavery, but now that we're learning that that was not our beginning here. And it is confirmed, it's really confirming some of the history that Priest Kelly has been sharing with me about the indigenous people who predated the colonialists that arrived in Jamaica, when they have been here for millennia. And so I've had an opportunity now to tap into that part of our history that more aligns with how we are as a people, meaning Jamaicans walk around sort of like a proud people. We have this
naturally
thing about, you know, and even the idea of being put out of the United States, to me, was a little offensive. It's almost like somebody put you in. I'm just like, you don't put us out. What are you talking about?
Right.
You know. So when you start to learn the history and herstory of our people, you realize that we did not originate from slaves. And even though they're trying to put us in that category, we don't carry ourselves that way because we just don't, that's not where we originate.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole beach birthright situation now, sorry about that. Sorry about the back. I'm in a construction site.
Understandable.
So the beach birthright issue now really is revealing to us our place in this part and region of the world. And so the discussion is going back and forth about Indians and who are the real Indians and those sorts of things. So when we in the Caribbean are referred to as West Indians or the West Indies, now it makes sense to me. I'm like, West Indies? I've always wondered, or thought it was the Tainos that they were referring to, the Indians that they said were here before. And not including us. So when they said West Indian, I'm thinking, well, they brought us over here. No, we've adopted that, just like we adopt the title American.
Right.
But what I have been learning from the indigenous communities are, we have been here and we weren't here suffering and struggling, and we were engaging in trade between the continents, from the continent of Africa into the Caribbean and up through North America, are regions that we have been traversing for millennia before the arrival of the colonialists, who, as we see how they function, I'm learning how they function now, because I'm actually experiencing that right now with this whole beach situation. When my family has had access to these beaches for years. I've always been going to the beach. We came here during our summer vacations from Kingston. This is where my siblings and I came and spent our time and went to the beaches. And now we have an entity that has established itself in our community with the permission of a government that calls itself our government. And now it has taken up space and taken over space. And this is what Israel is doing as well. It creates a little space. You invite them in and you give them a little room in your little space, and then they start to stretch out and take over, kind of like. And so that is what is happening in Jamaica right now. And in terms of the beaches. And interestingly, being here in Jamaica, I've had an opportunity to also sit at the feet of my aunt who recently passed. She had been the custodian of the home that I am now in, our family home. And she has been also giving me some background into what's been happening here in this area. Iberia Star, that's, we all know, is right down the road from me, about 2 minutes. And prior to that hotel being built, the community met there. There was a little community center, probably wasn't much, but that was where the community met. The churches would meet in that space. And then officials came by and they wanted to utilize the beach. And I'm not too sure who negotiated that, but there were promises of, well, we will rebuild you a little space for your community center. We'll relocate you, and then we'll have our hotel here. And the hotel is there, but there has been no replacement. There has been no new community center. And so now the community has been displaced. The place where they communed and fellowship together has been taken from them. And they're now doing it again with this other project. So the other piece of the beach, which is now on my end, is now being taken over by, actually, they said the Seminoles are supposed to own the Hard Rock Cafe. Hard Rock Cafe is a part of that. So it's a casino, and I'm not too sure about what impact that will have on our community, which already has tremendous human rights issues in terms of the abuse of women and children and girls, the exploitation of children on the island is
Right.
it's really, I wasn't aware of how really egregious the abuses are on the island, but there are significant human rights violations that are rampant throughout the island. The Gestapo style policing that sort of holds down the people. You don't see that sort of policing anywhere in the world, and you don't see any other people on the island being treated the way that the indigenous, I don't like to use the word black. Some people say black and not, but the descendants of Africans are treated on the island is absolutely unacceptable. And so the Rastafari Church and the indigenous community, which has since the colonizers took over, has always been at odds with the Jamaican government.
Yes.
It was Bustamante who put the order out to bring in any Rastafarian, dead or alive. That was by sitting prime minister, sort of like Netanyahu is. You order the killing of a group of people, that is genocide. And that violation has not ever been remedied. And the Rastafari community in Jamaica is still under oppression, spiritual, economic, and cultural oppression from the local government. And so are the indigenous people on the island. When people have a misconception of Jamaica because when they come to Jamaica, they stay at the all-inclusive hotels, and Jamaica looks very glitzy and glamoury, and behind all that glitz and glamour is an oppressiveness that is and has held down the people to the point of almost extinction at this point. So it is concerning. The literacy rate, the illiteracy rate is above 80%. The school system here all the systems are not functioning in any level that makes any sort of sense. That a government who has the best interest of its people at heart would allow these things to happen. And so at this point of our history as a people, and now that we're witnessing the expulsion of our citizens and return to the island under still economic oppression, that is why I wanted to have this dialogue, Donna. It was to really bring this to the attention of our people and the international community, that the deportation of, it's just Jamaica, I'm sure this is all over the world, but that process is very, it's putting us back into the time of what we heard what happened to the Jews, the supposed Jews, where people are being just sent back to prisons and you're not accounted for. That's kidnapping, that you're prisoner of war. We are still considered not slaves, but prisoners of war under this system. And so the Haile Selassie Rastafari Judah Coptic Church, by a bill established by the Queen of England, gave authority for this church to function independent of the Jamaican government. So it is, Priest Kelly has no, I'll give an opportunity for him at another time to give a little bit of background, because his story is very important to the foundation of the establishment of this church and its purpose in serving as a balance between the two opposing governments to ensure the rights of the people are preserved, the human rights of the people are preserved. And it is time now the church is not exercising that authority to do this. As we can see, the corruption is at historic levels. People don't even know what to do. When I think about a whole bank account or doing anything in banking in Jamaica, it's just incredible. Just going and getting anything done. And when one citizen is unable to get a bank account and have it functioning properly, when it is not possible or easy for the general public to be able to do that. And yet the Prime Minister has 20 bank accounts through which he's moving funds and under very questionable circumstances. It undermines the integrity of the country. It sets a bad example for our young people who we call scammers, and yet their leaders are participating in questionable behavior. What do you expect the young people to do?
Right.
So we're at an impasse right now, and it has now time for the church to step forward, and that is what Priest Kelly has asked that we now do. He has appointed me to be the secretary for the church, currently replacing Maxine Stowe, who was the former secretary. She had been carrying out the responsibilities of that office. Now, the direction in which the church is going, it requires different skills and a different focus. One that will give the indigenous people of the island, as well as the Rastafari community, sovereignty as it pertains to their economic development, their spiritual development, and their cultural development. And so the other piece of this that I wanted to bring forward was the upcoming meeting of BRICS will be meeting in Brazil, I believe, the BRICS nations, and the CARICOM heads of state will be meeting in Jamaica this weekend, the 6th through the 8th of July. The Prime Minister is scheduled to lead that or represent Jamaica in this the CARICOM region, and we have sent a letter to the heads of state expressing our dissatisfaction with this, while the Prime Minister is under investigation for illicit enrichment. And so the Rastafari community is going to represent itself as well as the indigenous community on behalf of the indigenous community, so that when we are negotiating business on behalf of our people, we will ensure that the interests of the people are protected and preserved, the human rights are protected and preserved. And that is currently not the case based on the agreements that the government is making on behalf of the people. Certainly, any government that has the best interests of the people will not sign away the land rights of its people, the beach rights of its people. I know I've lived in China and I wanted to purchase property while I was there, and I was not able to do so. China doesn't sell its property. But in Jamaica, we have handed over significant amounts of our properties to foreign investors and foreign entities and that is creating a national security issue for us in terms of food security and energy security, because our energy companies are not owned by the government, which would be the people. They're owned by foreign entities. And so when you have an enormously high light bill, if you have an issue with that, there is no entity on the island that can mediate on behalf of the people. So if you're being exploited, you just have to suck it up, because there's no one here to advocate for you. If the bank has taken your money, and that has happened, you just have to suck it up, because there's no one here to advocate on your behalf. So the situation, the economic oppression that people are under with the push for this hotel industry. Hotel industry, just think about a nation. Look at Burkina Faso.
Mm-hmm.
If we expect our nation to be great, certainly our education system needs to reflect that. And our
Exactly.
education system currently doesn't provide any information about our indigenousness, or there's no pride in who we are because the curriculum doesn't reflect us in the fabric of our education system. It is pointless, it is useless, it has rendered our people helpless. And the best and brightest of us do not want to work in the hotel industry. And so they leave the island. And what's left now is only over 80% illiteracy rate. So trying to get any service, and you're talking to people and they're unable to just be reasonable because you have to be a thinking person. And they're not thinking people here any longer. They're just people who are told what to do. And it is a complete violation of our human and spiritual rights. And when this is the case, we as a people have a right to stand up for our own survival. And that is what we're doing at this point.
Press. I heard you mention about the indigenous people being here before. I've been hearing a lot more about that, that we were in place, around the world before the slave
Oh, yeah.
trade.
Sure. And that is the case. It confirms, as I mentioned, what Priest Kelly has shared with me was the Ashanti people the tribe from which Nanny originated. Notice we've heard that Nanny was not a slave. Nanny was not a slave. But many of the people on the island were not slaves. Yes, there were slaves that were brought over. But the island was already populated, not just the Caribbean, but North America as well. We were traversing from, just think about where Africa is from the east coast of Jamaica, which is in Portland. So with what Priest Kelly calls the Akan Mountain, they call it the Blue Mountains. And that region is where the Ashanti people would settle. And so when the British came, of course, Nanny, the Maroons, all the people who were free people here are going to fight because they do not want to be imprisoned and they were not enslaved. And so they were ferocious warriors, just like they are in Haiti right now. They do not give up and they will not give up. Because Haiti, based on some of what I'm learning, was the hub of the empire. Mm-hmm. And that is why they're trying to, once you have taken over Haiti, then you conquered the region, but they have not conquered Haiti yet. And so we still have to fight for our indigenousness because the struggle is to bring Haiti under the control of the colonialists. Mm. And so they are unable to do that. So they're sending in our own soldiers from Kenya, from Jamaica, because their soldiers are unable to take them out. And they will not give up Haiti. And we will not give up Jamaica either. And so outside of the current economic scenarios between the CARICOM nations, His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie had established the Ethiopian World Federation, under which there is the African Union is a part of this whole thing. The African Union has 6 regions. 5 of the regions are on the continent, and the 6th region of the African Union is in the Caribbean, which is headquartered here in Jamaica. And so that role is under the control of the indigenous people, the Rastafarian community, and not the Jamaican government, which is why you don't see engaging too much with Africa. Mm-hmm. If Jamaica, you'd think that as a African quote unquote led nation, we would be more in collaboration with the African relations, but you don't see that happening. And so it is the responsibility and role of the indigenous communities to do so, and that is what we're doing. So we are establishing trade relations. We are re-establishing trade relations
Reestablishing. I love it.
with our African brothers and sisters.
Yes.
And if the CARICOM nations would like to be a part of that, then they're welcome to do so. But we are not begging for a seat at their table. We're going to continue to do business the way we were doing business before they came on board and oppressed
Yeah.
us.
I love it. You know, I was in Ghana a couple years ago with my husband, and I'm telling you, the Jamaican flag, when the people in Ghana know that you're from Jamaica, oh my gosh. It's
Yes,
such like a brotherhood and
welcome home.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, if let me know if I can be a part of anything like that. I am down 100%. I think we need to be able to, as also diaspora, be able to somehow tap into the government or something boards in Jamaica to give advice, to give solutions.
Yeah,
Um, and
yeah,
as people are, some of us are going to be forced back home, and this is no longer about undocumented or not.
right.
We're at the point where this administration can decide the whim, well, hey, I want this to happen, and now we don't have that injunction in place, right?
Right.
So,
That's correct.
um, so that's the reality that we're in, and that's for all people
Yes,
here in
yes,
these United States.
yes,
So, I hear some, you want to come back home, and this is nothing new. We want to come
right.
back home, but then, like you mentioned, infrastructure,
Yes,
the disadvantage. I think if we got together and we maybe from looking from out looking in, if we were able to give some advice and say, hey, how about tweaking this? We've been on this level, we
right,
understand this area. How about if I think it
right.
needs to be some kind of merging.
This is Donna. This is why I wanted the diaspora president to be a part of this, because the diaspora has a responsibility to our brothers and sisters back home who are
Right.
unable to navigate on their own because the system is so oppressive,
Hmm.
and they are unable to even read. And so sometimes when you even read the newspaper, I'm like, what are they saying? They use all these words that are just confusing. And so, yes, it is the responsibility of the diaspora. Our brothers and sisters in Africa are waiting for us. They're waiting for us in this region to move forward. And that is what we're putting in place right now. We're working in the Trenchtown community. I've been there recently, working with the Trenchtown Culture Yard.
Hmm.
And, when you drive into Trenchtown, it's like, I don't know if you all remember what Brooklyn used to look like back in the days when it was just run down and just look run down, like Harlem, just look like broken down buildings and all that. But when I drive through Trenchtown, I see wealth. Trenchtown is in a very good location in Jamaica. The brand itself is international. The community has a vision, but it has no investors. And it's a shame that that is the case, because there's so much talent that has come out of Jamaica. And one of the things that I wish we did more of, and I know it's restrictive because of the environment, is giving back more. The schools are in bad shape,
Hmm.
but even if there are a lot of old boys association and those sorts of things that we as a people who have come out of these schools can rebuild it. We can't wait for the government to do it.
Right.
The school system, everything right now, what Donald Trump is pretty much telling us, because listen, the fact is he has a role to play. He's the final trumpet. And he's waking us up and saying, listen, you have a responsibility to your own people. Don't come up into the United States and get comfortable. Fix your home. It was something that my aunt would mention to me all the time. I would ask her, why won't you just move to the US, Aunt Cynthia? And she said, Karen, what if they put you out their country? And I thought, put me out of the thought never crossed my mind.
Right.
So everybody sell off everything and gone and know that you have to come back. You can't afford to even buy land. But we're heirs to this property. And what we're doing now is we are starting to bring home our brothers and sisters and starting to take inventory. So what my contribution to the country is my master's degree is in curriculum development. And so having sat at the feet of these individuals and learning now, how do you exercise your sovereignty? How do you, now that I'm in, and I've gone ahead and I've established my sovereignty, I've separated myself I'm an indigenous person from a specific tribe. Now I established that. Now, how do I exercise my sovereignty? How do I tell these people to get off my beach? There is a process for doing that. And so we've put some courses in place that people can take to reestablish their sovereignty. You have an ID card that can show this is who I am from this tribe, from this community. And you now have the ability to now learn how to exercise your rights and your freedoms and reclaim the property. You shouldn't have to come back to Jamaica and buy land.
Right.
There are lands available for us. The indigenous communities have properties there available. So we're putting things in place now. I'm working with these communities so that the people who are returning, who have been deported, they're not just going to land here. We're going to find, a system in transitioning back into Jamaica, into their indigenousness, teaching them who they are and how to exercise and protect their spiritual and their cultural rights.
And we have to remember too that majority of people that are living here currently, or even a lot of times those that have been deported, have been given back to Jamaica financially. So we must remember, and I think the people of Jamaica need to remember that too, that has been going on from
long time. Wapikil fill up.
big and long time. We've been giving back, sending barrels. So that's one thing with the Jamaican families. So I know there's a lot of
even that's being threatened now. Even remittances. I heard governor saying that there. So if you're looking at this from a military strategic perspective, it's as though they're cornering us and ready to cut us off. And so we must take action. Right. We must take action to reclaim our sovereignty and our economic independence so that we can survive. Because they're now saying you can't even support your family. You can't send them money. No, absolutely not.
Yes, so that's exactly what's going on.
There has been support done.
It's a squeeze. It's a squeeze, and the squeeze, and we always say everything happens for a reason, and sometimes even in the midst of the bad, you have to look at the good, and sometimes we have to go through the bad in order to move forward, or else we'll just be comfortable. We'll just be comfortable in this country, and forget about our home.
That's correct. That's correct. And that's the way I see it right now. A post I made recently, when we talk about yin and yang, they're universal laws of positive and negative that are always at play.
Yes.
And so I see Donald Trump as a wake-up call. I see what he's doing. Actually, I know we're looking at how it's happening, but it's really showing us who we are. We just need to know now how to assert our sovereignty. So when they come and they want to arrest you for whatever reason, you know what to say. We don't know what to say. We don't know what language to use to protect ourselves from the invaders who have now turned against us and now kicking us out of our own countries, which is what's happening in Israel. So it's just happening in a different way. They're just not gonna bomb Jamaica. they're going to destroy us with KFC.
Yes.
KFC.
100%. 100%. Yes.
So we in the diaspora, I wrote I didn't. The children's story is one that we all know, and it's the story of the ugly duckling. The ugly duckling was adopted by the mother goose because it was lost, and it never looked like the ducklings. And everyone would always wonder, why is it that this ugly duckling is among us? It's not one of us. And after the ugly duckling grew up and looked at itself, it saw that it wasn't a duck after all. When it grew up, it was looking it went away, and it was looking in a river, and it saw its reflection. And its reflection, it saw itself and saw that it was not a duck. It was an eagle. Mm-hmm. I changed it from a swan. It was a swan, but I say an eagle because the eagle represents us in the diaspora, the American eagle. The eagle is the birds that represents the United States. Mm-hmm. And we who have become American citizens, and for me, I was the ugly duckling. I'm thinking I'm American, I'm running around like an American servant in the military, and and I'm American. What do you mean you're going to put me out of this country? Are you kidding me? Right. Until you realize that, wait a minute, they actually can put you out of the country. And it could possibly, if depending on how they look at it, my children, because they could say, well, you don't belong here, and so therefore your children and your grandchildren also have no rights in this.
No state, as they called it. You saw the one with the military that had the children abroad in Germany and now is considered stateless.
That's correct. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine? And so, but that's a good thing, because what we're going to do is reclaim our indigenousness. We're not going to have a driver's license that says US. We're not going to have, just our passport that says US. We're going to have our own indigenous identities that allows us to traverse the planet freely. Yes. If we have been traversing the planet without all these restrictions and complications. We just need to reset ourselves back to, we need to remember and putting back who we are and walking in that sovereignty and that divinity. And that is where we are heading, right?
Yes.
So it is not a time for us to worry. It is a time for us to organize and support each other and welcome home to a beautiful island.
It's a time to celebrate, and because everything is for a season and everything happens for a reason, and sometimes you have to go through the mud and the dirt.
Yes.
And I think that's what it's definitely a learning point for us. And now we can talk about, look at the Rastafarians, most peaceful group of people that I have met. And I have to say, among, not disrespecting any religion, but we have to put, and Rastafari, they don't consider themselves a religion, it's a movement and it's a lifestyle. But when you look at example of love and peace, we're not seeing it under Christianity. We're not. But we're just not. We have to be real and examine everything now, this overhaul. It's just been hijacked.
Yes. Yes, it has been.
Yeah.
And then those parts of our religious spirituality has also been hijacked. Mm-hmm. And we have been demonized so that we don't practice that any longer. And as a matter of fact, I think there's still laws on the books here in Jamaica that criminalizes certain practices. And these things are no longer acceptable. The fact that Rastafarians recently just got arrested for trafficking ganja. They arrested a Rastafarian for trafficking ganja. We're still doing this today in Jamaica, right? And yet, Canadians, the dispensaries in Jamaica, they get their ganja imported from Canada because they send the Jamaican farmers over to Canada to grow it there and then import it and sell it in the dispensaries so that the Rastafari community cannot benefit from this. This is the practice that is happening right now. And so you can see the intentional effort to cripple the Rastafari community, the indigenous community, economically, cutting them off from being able to generate money, and then cutting them off from accessing water. You know, in Florida, on the farm that I owned with my ex-husband, we had a well on that farm. Mm. In Jamaica, you would think that Jamaica could dig. We're overwatered, the rivers all over. You can't dig and get water. You have to get your water through the National Water Commission, a monopoly. The National Water Commission, which is not owned by a Jamaican company, is who provides our water. The Jamaican Public Service is not a Jamaican company, provides our power. And it is the highest electric in the island. In the Caribbean, I'm sorry, in the Caribbean. So when you return to Jamaica, and I wasn't aware of these things, and you see these things happening, you have these two parties that are trading back and forth. By the way, the party was established, this is another history lesson, because I know we're about to wrap up. But when you hear the story about how the political parties were formed, that's another interesting history, because it was initiated by Marcus Garvey. And when the British Empire saw what was going to happen, they installed their own parties. And the cousins, the Bustamante and the Norman Manley, so it looked like you have two parties, and then gave the impression that we were free. And it's been like this ever since. So it's never really been independence. It was the British Crown's way of tricking us into believing that we have choice, right, when we really don't have choice. And so we're going to correct all these historical misinformation, and we're starting in the indigenous and the Rastafari communities. I have on my website a road to sovereignty. I've set up some a pathway, some courses. Human rights course is a free course. Oh, by the way, there's those who know me in my professional, when I wear my professional hats, I'm big into technology and education, and they're thankfully through technology now we're able to engage with each other. And I completed a fellowship 2 years ago where I was in Cameroon, and we're now establishing courses that can be taught, Pan-African courses from Cameroon, from Nigeria, from Ghana, from Ethiopia, through the Haile Selassie Metaversity. It is an online platform wherein people can go in and take courses from any university in the world. We're setting that platform up in place right now so we can reconnect. I'm also working to establish fellowships so we can have exchange programs between universities in Jamaica. Right now I'm working with the Trenchtown Polytech in Trenchtown, working to establish exchange programs, student exchanges, teacher exchanges, those sorts of things, nursing programs, so that we can have an exchange of culture and intellect, and or to reconnect us back to our spirituality. And also tying into the historically Black universities in the United States as well, so that we can reconnect our indigenousness and sharing our have an intellectual exchange, cultural exchanges, and we take charge of that. So, Doctor, when I was asking you questions earlier, it was to see where you were, because Jamaica really needs a lot of help right now.
Okay. We get a seat with any government. Here we are able to, meet local mayors or anything like that. How is the improvement um, with government and people, and even what we as diaspora come back and experience, relate, so that, because you have to get a feedback to say, oh, you mean this? Because if you're in a country and this is what you're used to, it's fine, it's normal.
Right.
But when other people are able to come back and say, it's not normal to spend a whole day in the bank,
No. No.
So how do we get feedback to those leaders?
What I've learned is Jamaica, we're dictatorial. We're in Florida, I can send a message, as you mentioned, that doesn't happen here. Everybody ignores you, you send messages, nobody responds. And so this was why the diaspora was so important, because I see the Prime Minister engaging with the diaspora organizations here, but everybody is happy for a photo op and no one is holding him accountable for the work that needs to be done, so that if we return, what are we as returning residents, what sort of treatment are we going to expect? Because I certainly didn't get a very good treatment when I came back. It's also, they didn't even want you to come back. I believe they paint this picture of Jamaica so that they can keep us away, because the island is just a beautiful and miraculous, there's so much history here. The other piece of what I'm doing are planning history tours, wherein we can travel. It's not just about reading the book, but we can actually visit places where we can see and touch and feel. And
like when we go to Ghana and we go to the castle and we go to the last bath and things like that. Yeah,
that's correct. Going to Dunn's River Falls and all this stuff, that doesn't help us as a people. Yes, that's part of it, but we need to have cultural tours so I'm designing those as well. I've designed some, actually, I'm just aligning with some of the core tours that are already on the island but are not publicized. So they're very informational. I am really directing my education towards the diaspora, to the children and grandchildren of the diaspora, my children included, so that we can retain our connection to our heritage here. So to answer your question, Donna, it is important that, yes, Peter Gracie and any other leaders in the Diaspora Council engage in an authentic way with the Jamaican government, and not just photo ops and what have you, but have specific line items that we need to see happening on the island. And one of the things that we need to ensure happens is that if you are an Indigenous person, you have access to the beaches, no questions asked. The hotels open their doors, you show your ID card, and we can get in and access our beaches. We need to have certain rights on the island that we can defend. We need to, that Diaspora Council need to engage with the government and ask about lands that are owed to us. This is the year of reparations, according to the African Union. And so we have to make the wrong right. And so if those of us in the diaspora don't create pressure on the local governments, and by the way, there is a third party, the UIC, that is led by a returning resident from Canada, UIC.org. The government is not allowing them to register officially as a part, which is why it's a dictatorship. This is why the Rastafari Church had to be established by the Queen, because every time you try to file your registration, they flag your account and then they stop it. So they're not allowing the third party to register right now, and that is illegal. And so those of us in the diaspora must take action outside of the country to see the actions that will happen inside the country. And so we cannot have photo ops and smile with the prime ministers. We need to hold them accountable, make sure that the Integrity Commission that they're trying to manipulate right now, that needs to be something that has an outside entity, that needs to be managed by the Diaspora Association, needs to be outside of the control of Jamaica. The Constitutional Court needs to be accessible to the people. Right now, it is not, which means if the government violates your rights, you cannot be remedied, because they're not allowing people. They're actually physically pushing people outside the court so they cannot enter the courts. So we have a constitutional impasse in Jamaica where you cannot get justice. You cannot get justice remedied if you're hurt or violated by the police, the authority. Joseph Patterson is still, who is the president of the UIC. He fought for to ensure that the government wouldn't force vaccinate people. He was abused by the police, and the judicial courts are just kicking his case down the road. That they did with FinSac. They just hope you eventually die, but they'll never bring it to justice. So the other piece of what we're doing is moving or any judicial inquiries outside of the control of the Jamaican government. It needs to be handled in the court of the Caribbean Court of Justice. But Jamaica can't govern itself. It can't judge itself. It's not going to find itself guilty of violating the human rights of its people, just like Israel.
So true.
The diaspora, the prime minister has not called an election yet, and he should have. He's waiting, obviously, I don't know the games they play. I'm still learning this process. But the diaspora, this year is when we need to move and remove anyone from office that does not have the best interests of the people at hand. We need to get rid of them. It's a dictatorship at this point because there's really no there's no secondary. He has his wife as, there's certain things that are happening in government that I'm going, that's not allowed. How do you have your wife overseeing the legislature? I don't understand that.
It sounds like America. We actually just found out in Florida that some races were voting is just not going to happen this year.
Yeah. They're completely take over now. So we need to govern ourselves. It's self-government. Mm-hmm. The nurses in Jamaica, they had just had 24 babies die just last month. And when you look at the public health minister, that guy looks completely incompetent. So we need to move and advocate. We need the whole nursing industry. They're constantly on strike, and that is putting the nation at risk, which is what is happening right now. The nurses are going on strike, and so babies are dying because they need pay. It's really a catastrophe. It's really we need to take action right now. There's a human rights crisis currently happening in Jamaica. We need to move as a diaspora. The international community needs to pay attention. So
we have so many high rise going up and left and right, and
no, they're not expected to do any. If you're going to build a hotel in Jamaica, you should be expected to put some technology in a school, build a hospital, do something other than just come and just take from the island. How is that? Who's negotiating these deals? It's really not difficult. From the profits that they're making, they should be reinvesting in the infrastructure of this country and the people, the children, the healthcare system. But the tourist industry is just exploiting the island. It's just a big slave plantation.
That's the other issue for diaspora is the healthcare system. For those that even wanted to come back many moons.
Yeah, but we have enough nurses. We need people to organize. It's just not organized. You have a bunch of men, and if you're planning any event, do you ask your husband to do it? No. Okay, so you have a bunch of men running the island into the ground right now, and the director of the healthcare system is a man, and most of the systems, the education, JTA, a man is running that too. So he's in control of teaching the next generation, a man. So you don't wonder what's going on. They have taken over and they're ruining the world. Just everything they do, they shoot them, kill them. Police, the prisons are overcrowding, so they're just shooting the young people, killing the young men off, and then the babies are dying, and then the mortality rate is low. So it's ridiculous, but it's a beautiful island. We can step in control. It was never okay for us to only vote once every 4 years. Even when I was in Florida, I ran for local office. I ran for the school board because we have to take action locally. We cannot vote people into office and then step away and say, let them run the country. We have to hold them accountable. We have to be involved ourselves. We have to be willing to run for public office, put ourselves out there. if Trump is able to run the country with a felon and baby daddy, baby mama, listen, we can do it too. We just as jacked up. We don't have to be perfect. We just need to have a heart for people, and we can govern ourselves. We must be able to do a better job than Trump and the men that are currently ruining the world. So
we get more info on the indigenous.
Sure. There some more detailed information will be coming forward. One of the indigenous communities that would practice have their new moon and full moon ceremonies is going to open it up now to the other communities, and I will be sharing that as time goes by. This will be coming forward soon. For upcoming independence, we will be sharing additional information about the indigenous communities so that we can truly be independent, giving people an opportunity to sign up and get their ID cards. Locations in Jamaica, but we're also going to have affiliations in the US as well for anyone interested in getting their indigenous identification back and going through the process of learning how to reclaim your sovereign rights, your land, your everything. And opportunities for investing in the development of Trenchtown and other areas of Jamaica, other indigenous communities. So you know how they have timeshare where you wanna come and buy property? We're setting those things up where if you wanna forward back home and you wanna own some property and you don't wanna pay arm and a leg, we're putting those things in place, because it shouldn't be impossible for you to live on a piece of property that you can grow some food and just live a decent life. I'm having mangoes are just dropping off the tree. Ackee, I have breadfruit. I haven't gone shopping in so long. I just shopped the other day, but I was running low on a couple of things. And I said, you know what? Just pick a couple of breadfruit, get some ackee off the tree that opened up and hooked up some food, and I was fine for another couple of days. So sorry, say that again.
So you eating the mangoes, right? And I'll just shake my head like,
I know. Yeah. I did that intentionally. No one knows better than you are. Jamaica is a beautiful place.
Yes.
We just let them to get there. If they allowed us, listen, nobody would leave Jamaica if they just stop, make things work the way it's supposed to. So we're going to pick it up so we can come back where we are, because no one better. It's great to be here. I love being here. There's so much to explore, and I have the whole island. So, prior to coming here, I was back and forth in Hawaii with my daughter, and I was in Africa. Now I can just jump on a nut spread and go to Port Antonio. I can go to Mandeville, jump on a bus, and I'm not trying to feel flying right now. I don't feel very safe traveling on the ocean or traveling in the sky, and I kind of would encourage people to just wait on that a little bit. Too many things, there are pole shifts happening. Too many things in the sky right now. So I'm just exploring the island, but it is a great pleasure to be back here. We have a beautiful island home that nobody's gonna just kill you randomly. Jamaicans are not like that. I was told when you come back, Karen, I'm gonna kill you off. And I was like, these people aren't trying to kill me. All right, you get into stuff with each other. I don't get into no with nobody. So nobody don't have no reason for killing me. The only people that probably want to take me out are probably the people in leadership positions, because we're about to tell them to go take a hike. Other than that, nobody killing me.
We're not claiming that. We're not claiming that.
We're not doing that. We're doing that. Get out of here, right? But yes, Jamaica is still a beautiful place to be. I love it here. It is an intentional that we are not able to come back home, but we in the diaspora have a responsibility. So I would like to challenge the diaspora presidents and leadership and people within those regions to step forward, be engaged with what's happening locally. I'm going to start doing some more writing, because we can't really trust the gleaner. I've been noticing the news and how it's coming out. That's another part of what dictators do. They manipulate the news so that the media, what I see being shown is skewed. So we have our own media that we'll be putting on the Rastafari TV and Rastafari media, so that we can represent and tell our own stories. the Jamaican paper is still telling the colonial story, so we're not relying on that. So it's going to be a new system for us to establish, but it's
Yeah,
fun.
man.
We've done it. We're, especially those in America, we know how the forefathers started. We're going to be the foremothers and
Yes.
establish our country. So
And
thank you.
it's important for all of us to bring that energy, bring that knowledge, the
Sure.
experience that we've had back into the country on different levels. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Dr. Arlene, any last words?
Just want to thank Empress Zaria for all the information that she brought. And as I sit and listen, I was thinking of 3 R's. She mentioned one, the reset. And truly, she has given my heart some hope as I thought about, um, you know, the individuals who are being sent back. And I said, geez, when our lives are reduced to ashes, God said he will take blow and make something beautiful of it.
True.
We can reset, refocus, refresh, and use what we have and become better. We know, we are people who work and we can do it again, and we're not survival, we're thrivers. And my heart goes out for the healthcare arena when I hear about the mortality rate. And said, striking is not doing it. And I'm thinking, I wonder if they could get together even on Zooms or conference lines, and we come together and decide what we're going to do. The strike is not doing it. People are still dying. So
right.
Some strategies that can be implemented to get going and to hold those people accountable. Yes, for the lives of people. So if I can be of help, I don't have any political.
Well, we don't need that. We just need competence. That's all we need, competence and guidance.
So
we're definitely here. Yeah, we're definitely here for that. Because it's important to have that bridge.
It is.
Yeah.
We'll work on through that, even if it's not through the Diaspora Council. As I mentioned, the entity or the church is organizing itself and I already have a jot form where people can start to register if they'd like to at least register. When I say church, and His Majesty established the church for a reason. We consider the church as this place to, sing and praise and all that, but the church has a specific function as well beyond just that. And I wondered why His Majesty established the church, but it is under the umbrella of the church that our spirituality, our sacred practices can be protected. And so the Priest Kelly has asked that I create that membership form, which I have start with, so we can start to know, just start to have an inventory of the people who we have in the diaspora, where they are, what their qualifications are, so that if need be and we need to tap into those resources, we have a resource from which to pull from, sort of like a chamber. And those things I'll start to put in place as well as I navigate through the nuances of the culture and the community. So I'm learning while I'm using, balancing my, the skills that I've had and what I can bring forward, and how to make sure the Indigenous community maintains its structure, its character, its ways, but still kind of using 21st century technology to be able to do that. And that's what they need right now. So I'm trying to bridge the two. So be patient with me as I go through this path, but I welcome you all to join me as well, especially those who have
of course. Well, God bless you on your journey.
Thank you.
May peace, love, and light follow you.
Thank you.
All that you work with, all your endeavors.
I'd like to still be able to also keep you posted. There's a lot happening up to the Independence Day. It's a lot of things happening in Trenchtown. So I really want the diaspora and the international community to be able to be a part of the things that are taking place in Jamaica. We're going to be building teams. I'm working with the college right now to develop some internships. Media is very important. And so I'm juggling a number of different things, but I'm having some interns in place so that I can delegate some of these responsibilities to them. And journalism is one of them, so that we can keep the communication lines open.
All right. Well, we're here.
Okay. Donna, I just have, one word, the crises that I'm hearing. I know not many people are religious, but most people in Jamaica, they have some religious upbringing. Mm-hmm. It seems like it's a time for a nationwide prayer.
Well, there's no leadership. There's no leadership in Jamaica outside of even the churches are silent. The fact that the churches are silent and the oppressiveness is here says a lot to me as well. There's no church stepping, because remember, the church that's a whole other history as well. They are a part of holding the people down. Mm-hmm. So that is why Rastafari has to step forward at this point and at this time.
Okay.
The same thing that's happened here, unfortunately, and that's why I mentioned that the church has been hijacked.
Yes.
We have to also realize that the church was instrumental in this administration because of the fear for women's rights, for gays and transgender, for minorities, all of that. So
yeah,
it's being hijacked. So it's the individuals from the church that has to step out boldly to make change happen. So we're here for you, and just let me know what we need to do.
All right.
Bless you.
Yes.
Bless you,
Donna. So
yes.
Touch with you.
I want to definitely get in touch with you, Doctor. Absolutely, because I've already kind of picked your brain a little bit, and I can see how we can align our energies. Okay, so thank you again, Donna. I'll definitely be in touch. Good to meet you again, Doctor. Have a wonderful evening. And
everyone, thank you for joining us. I know we ran over 8:15. I'm gonna also be saving this and sending it out on YouTube. So with that, much love and blessings. Good night.
Good night. Bye.